Hello and welcome to Profiles in Risk. This is your host, Tony Cañas, feeling naked today because I am not at home, so I don't have my awesome video setup. I don't even have my awesome microphone. I'm just on a Bose headset. So a little bit weird for me, kind of back to the basics. And today I have with me Ben Lewis, who is the VP of Insurance and General Manager at Edge Case Risk Management. Ben, thank you for joining me today. How's it going?
Doing well. Thanks for the invite, Tony. Glad to be here.
Awesome. My pleasure. So you are, according to LinkedIn, in Boston. So I imagine that Boston in August is probably beautiful.
Usually it's been, I think like most places right now, it's been pretty hot here. But yeah, no, I live just north of the city, about an hour north of Boston right now.
Oh, okay. Is that kind of like the Worcester area, or what area is that?
Yeah, it's up near actually we're on the border with New Hampshire. So if you go up
Ah,
95, you'll pretty much run right into where we're at up here.
okay. Got it. And yeah, it's been hot. I live in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm currently a refugee at my brother-in-law's place in Minneapolis. I am unwilling to visit in the winter, but in the summer it's a nice place to escape to. Uh, so Ben, we always give the guests the chance of giving the elevator speech, the elevator speech. So what is edge case research?
Yeah, so there's two parts to the pitch here. The first is edge case research, and then we can talk a little bit about what we're launching with edge case risk management. Edge case research is actually a company that's been around for not too far. We're not too far away from 10 years now, so been around for almost a decade. And our mission is to help companies go to market with safe autonomous technology. So we work with primarily the developers of the autonomous systems that go into vehicles that are out there being tested and in some cases are in the early phases of deployment. And really what we've done over our time as a company is we've led the way in defining, measuring, and managing the risks of autonomous systems operating in the real world. So we've actually helped establish some of the industry best practices and the standards that are out there for designing and deploying autonomous systems. We've engaged with our customers, directly to enable them to go to market with their technology safely. And then we also are now talking about how we can help companies from a risk management perspective, not only with things like risk engineering, but now with insurance products. And so that actually leads to what we're doing with Edge Case Risk Management, or ECRM. ECRM is a business we're building right now that we're going to be launching as an MGA. So we're seeking to have managing general agent as part of the overall umbrella we have at Edge Case Research, so that we can provide insurance products alongside the existing risk management solutions we have for autonomous vehicle companies. And we also really want to take what we've done for almost 10 years now in defining and managing defining, measuring, and managing the risks of AVs, and feed that directly into the insurance business we're building. So we'll be using some of those standards and something called a safety case as part of our underwriting process and our risk assessment process for the insurance. And then we'll also be taking advantage of some of the software tools we have here at EdgeCase and the underlying data that software gets us access to drive the insurance products that we want to sell. So that in a nutshell, that's a bit about the overall company. Again, EdgeCase Research, which has been around for a bit now, and then what we're doing to take advantage of our expertise and our engineering capabilities to build this new MGA as well.
Okay, this is super exciting for me. So for the listeners, you might not know that my approach to the research is to the podcast is kind of the opposite of Lamparelli's approach. So Nick Lamparelli ran this podcast for the first 100 episodes, and he was a very prepared, have an agenda, do all your research on the company ahead of time type of guy. And I'm the exact opposite, right? So basically Ben got when I found Edge Case, uh, I'm like, oh, InsureTech that I haven't talked to. So I added him on LinkedIn with a message saying something like, would love to have you on the podcast, the largest podcast in the InsureTech space, blah, blah, blah. Would love to have you on the podcast. He replies he's interested. I send him a Calendly link that he uses to book the time, usually between 4 and 6 p.m. Eastern on a weekday, Monday through Thursday. And then when the time comes, we literally just get on the call and we chat for like 5 minutes and then we start recording. So basically, like many times, and that was the case today, we start recording and I have no idea what this InsureTech does, right? And that's partially because my ADHD brain and partially because I like to react. I like my real reaction to be captured, right? So there are times where like the founder talks about something super technical that in an area of insurance that I've never dealt with, and it I have to like really grasp at straws to try to come up with questions. And other times it's a topic I really care about. This one's a topic I really care about. So anyway,
That's good.
so the autonomous vehicle side is fascinating in my opinion, and fascinating when it comes to the insurance implications, right? So let's have the conversation. So for the listeners, there are a few articles in Insurance Nerds that you should check out. I'll try to include them in the show notes. We had some articles written by an actuary a few years ago about autonomous vehicles. Um, and Ben, like one of the things that, in my opinion, and I learned it from that article or those articles from that actuary. I can't remember his name right now, but basically, the general public does not understand that when I have an accident, when Tony has an accident driving, Tony learns a lesson, right? And it turns out I was actually a really crappy driver when I first started. I had 7 accidents my first year of driving. Now, this was back in Costa Rica. Luckily, that driving record didn't follow me into the States, and mostly minor accidents. And my driving record here in the States is clean, and I've been here for 20 years. But basically, I learned a lot of lessons in my first year of driving, right? But when I have an accident, my girlfriend doesn't learn a lesson, my sister doesn't learn a lesson, my brother doesn't learn a lesson, right? Like I learned the lesson and that's it. When an autonomous vehicle has an accident, the engineers dig into that data, figure out what happened, and the entire fleet learns the lesson. So you start hitting an exponential curve of safetiness, right? And very quickly they become safer drivers than we are, right? Uh, am I incorrect in anything I've said? I'm not an engineer in any way, shape, or form.
No, I mean neither am I. But no, I mean, the great thing about autonomous vehicles is that you do have this sort of group learning, and
Mm-hmm.
you can cascade these lessons and improvements to a whole fleet of vehicles, right? That is an awesome benefit of rolling out this technology. You can develop hopefully very very safe fleets out there. It's not easy to do that. There's a lot that goes into
Mm-hmm.
you know capturing those lessons, hopefully before there's even a crash to look at and investigate. There's a lot of work to design safe systems, to develop those systems safely and actually engineer them safely, and then then a whole nother set of work to be done to put them out and deploy them into the world and then operate them safely. So there's a lot to it for sure, and that's why we've been doing what we do at EdgeCase for as a company for about almost a decade now. The team has been doing this for, in some cases, many decades, and so like this is it's hard work. There's a lot of work for these companies to do, and they've poured a lot of resources, obviously, into designing and deploying these systems in a safe way. And so now what we want to do is really take that recognition for what it takes to be safe in this industry, and and properly translate that to the insurance side of things. Because as you might imagine, not the way that insurers might look at EVs and the companies that create them today it doesn't always reveal that hard work that they might be doing to make
So
sure that when
le-
the rubber hits the road, things are being done safely. So
so let me pause you right there. By the way, I love that you use the rubber hit the road metaphor because it's never been more appropriate. Uh, okay, so let me pause you there. Okay, so insurance companies think of themselves, insurers think of themselves as fast followers, right? In reality, they most of them are probably laggards when it comes to innovation, right? They only innovate when they're absolutely like just forced to. So when it comes to autonomous vehicles, this is ridiculously scary for a traditional insurance company. In many, let's say Progressive. Okay, so Progressive has a true innovator's dilemma on autonomous vehicles, right? They're a ginormous and very, very, very good auto carrier, right?
yeah,
If if uh, people-driven cars start to disappear and get replaced, if privately owned, like owned by me driving cars start to disappear, and and instead the majority of cars, at least in urban areas, become fleet owned autonomous vehicles,
sure.
Progress is out of business, basically, right? uh, it's a very scary situation for them, and they don't know if just because they were a very, very solid auto underwriting carrier in the traditional space, they have no idea if that's going to translate to, right? They could go ahead and invest in it, uh, and see if it translates, and bet the farm on it translating, or they, they, they could go like, not really interested in this, let's hope that it dies. Let's hope that it never happens, right? They could just like lobby the Senate in each state and federally to make sure that autonomous vehicles never become fully legal, right? So how do we get to a point where autonomous vehicles are insured in
Yeah.
kind of in a way that's as effective or and efficient or more than the current environment for people-owned vehicles?
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely different groups out there. Probably in for each kind of player in the value chain here. But
Hmm.
yeah, the carriers probably have different groups among them. Folks that are trying to be fast followers or even first movers to some degree. Arguably, I guess, depending on how you think about that. Then folks who maybe want to kind of be in the middle and really be a follower and sort of see how things develop. And then there certainly might be carriers out there that are well established in particularly the auto market today and want to double down on that. And so I do think the thing is, though, there is almost an opportunity to kind of eat your cake and have it too, or whatever, right? Like you can this is going to take time, and it's not, to your point about the vehicles being in urban areas, these aren't going to be everywhere all at once, in some amount of years. These are going to
Hmm.
be put out, AVs are going to be put out for certain use cases in certain areas, certain geographies, certain conditions. And, I think for most of us, for most of our lifetimes, there's going to be a role for private vehicle ownership and private transportation as well, and other forms of transportation.
Yeah.
And so, I think the reason we're developing this insurtech business after many years of working with carriers as a supporter of theirs with our services is that we want to work with carriers who want to do both. Like there's a benefit as an MGA to working with a carrier who has a strong history in the auto space in this
Hmm.
case, and maybe even a strong history in other lines of business as well. But we think that there's a real opportunity here. I mean, billions and billions of dollars have been invested into developing and commercializing autonomous vehicles. And so there's a big opportunity here to offer more efficient, safer, better transportation with this technology. And, carriers should support that as well. Now, it's again, an autonomous vehicle and the technology system that I guess literally drives the autonomous vehicle. Like that's a complicated thing, and so we are taking sort of an engineering-based approach first and foremost to looking at it from an insurance standpoint and from a risk standpoint, because it's really that's what it is. We're talking about systems engineering expertise that's needed, and so while I would say that carriers should consider supporting this emerging technology, we would say, we would argue at EdgeCase that like it will take a special kind of expertise to really understand the risk. And that, to your point, that might not be the same expertise that carriers have relied on for about 100 years now to look at us humans driving around.
Okay. So a lot of our listenership is carrier side. In fact, the last time we surveyed the listeners, about 50% of them are carrier side and about 50% of them are broker side. So for all of our listeners on the carrier side, who should be reaching out to EdgeCase? Are we talking the VP of Innovation? Are we talking the VP of Underwriting? Who is the person that you'd love to hear from? I want to say State Farm, but there's 2,000 carriers, right?
We've found that the best conversations happen with carriers when we have someone from the innovation side or maybe the strategy side, because they, usually for them, the market opportunity clicks, right? Like, similar to what you said at the beginning of the call, this is a topic that some people are really passionate about and they understand. And so, for us, like it's helpful to have a starting point here with a carrier where, they get the opportunity and they get, at least the beginnings of how to understand the market and the technology. The second piece is we do often try to have, an underwriting mindset in those good discussions as well, because there's a lot of questions and there are a lot of hurdles, I think, on the horizon for insurance, thinking about how to build an insurance product for these things, for the technology and I guess the market overall. So having the underwriting side, the chief underwriting officer, VP of underwriting type person who can kind of bring to the table that mindset around thinking about how to build a product or an insurance program here. We're not, auto insurance is a big focal point, but we're thinking about how we can package that up with other lines of business and coverages as well. So for us, I guess the long and short is really both sides and both types of people that you mentioned are important, because there's a number of angles on this market. And that interest in it as an emerging opportunity is really important. And then also, given we're on a path to try to build an insurtech business, having the underwriting side and sort of the product, thought process has also been, useful for us when we've been talking to carriers.
Okay. So we are recording on August 10th, and fall conference season is almost upon us. I know because I'm getting invites for a bunch of stuff. Where if I want to meet in person, if I'm a carrier and I want to meet in person with EdgeCase, will you be at InsurTech Connect? Where else do you expect that you guys will be for fall and spring conference season?
Yeah. Actually, it's good timing for the question. We've been thinking about our plans. It looks like it's going to be a busy September and October. As far as insurance events go, I think the two big ones, if I have it right, are that we'll be at the Marketplace Risk Conference in London in mid-October. So that's one you could find us at. Myself and our autonomous systems underwriter Emily will be there. So definitely look us up at that event. And then we're also well, I'll be at Target Markets annual summit as well, which is similar timeframes, sort of mid-October timeframe. So those are the two we have on the calendar for sure right now. We're also attending a number of mobility and autonomous vehicle industry events. We're going to Move America in September, a couple of American Trucking Association events, and then also attending a couple other like Pennsylvania Autonomous Vehicle Consortium events, things like that. So yeah, we have a lot of the sort of automotive and AV safety events on the calendar, and then those couple of insurance ones, definitely the marketplace risk event and the Target Markets annual summit.
Okay, fantastic. And looking at your LinkedIn, so you spent a good almost 9 years at a very major carrier. Uh, I'm not mentioning them by name because I don't know if we can. From my perspective, we can. I just don't know if you can. So you can mention them by name. A character that I really like. You can mention them by name if you want to. No rule against it on my side. So you spent almost 9 years with them, and I would love to hear kind of how it happened. How you went from. It looks like your first role there was in product, and in what looks like the very most entry level of product. Uh, how did you end up going from there to where you are today?
Yeah. Yeah. So I think it'll be uh, known maybe to even some of your audience, and I'm sure others can find out that my time prior to EdgeCase was at Liberty Mutual. Yeah, I spent about 9, 10 years there in total, and yeah, I mean, started off in product management at Liberty. Ended up actually in the middle of my time moving over to an innovation team. So striving to support that organization's interest in being a mover on innovative topics. And that's actually when I started working on autonomous vehicles as an emerging market. So about 6 years of my time at Liberty, in one way or another, I was focused on championing AVs along with some others there at the company, as an emerging space that we should be, getting ready for and getting involved in. And that did evolve into my last stint at Liberty. So I ended my time there as part of the mobility practice, handling relationships with our autonomous vehicle accounts, and then also working on our global relationship at Liberty. That Liberty has with Uber. So yeah, that's kind of a quick around the room on my time at Liberty. I guess just to kind of how that leads to EdgeCase. I think one obvious one from what I already explained is that I did spend a number of years there focused on insuring autonomous vehicles, and I'm really passionate about the space. Liberty. When I worked at Liberty, it was always nice to work for a pretty mission-driven company. EdgeCase is also very mission-driven, and again, our mission is to make sure these vehicles and the underlying technology are safe when they get out onto the road. So that's something I really care about. I think the second major thing that led me to EdgeCase is actually that Liberty Mutual Strategic Ventures is an investor of ours. So we, EdgeCase and Liberty, got to know each other prior to my move over here to the company, and I was party to that a little bit. And so it was a great chance for me to get to know EdgeCase Research's founder, one of our founders, Mike Wagner, who's our CEO, and then some of the other members of the team. And then when it was a chance to support EdgeCase's move to build this new insurtech business, I was very interested in coming on board to help, because again, there's a lot of opportunity here for insurance, and I think it's important to support autonomous vehicle deployment. I really believe there can be some significant benefits with the technology if it's done right. So that's what we're here to do, and yeah, glad to kind of have made my way through Liberty Mutual over the years, and now have a chance to be part of the insure tech world directly, I suppose.
Okay. Any advice for insurance professionals, whether they're in product or in underwriting or whatever, who want to make the move to the tech slash insure tech space?
It's a great question. I think getting a variety of experience, even if you're not at an insure tech, I was fortunate enough to get diverse experience during my time at Liberty, and that was I'm sure it was helpful for me as I've moved through different parts of my career, but also it just was it was interesting, and it was nice to see different parts of a big carrier, and so I think that might be one thing even if folks are thinking about dipping their toe into insurtech or into a smaller company, that could be useful. I'd say the second thing generally is probably obvious, that it seems like a really great time, probably better than ever, to consider working in the insurtech space. I mean, there's so much opportunity out there. I'm reading all the articles and reports about just how big like even just the MGA space has become,
Hmm.
and all of the vendors and service providers out there providing technology to carriers and brokers and such. There's a ton of opportunity. So it's probably one of the better times to consider moving into an insurtech company. If you have experience in the industry, or even if you come more from the technology side and just kind of getting more into applying it to insurance.
The insurtech MGA model is becoming so popular, and it makes so much sense because it used to be so difficult to start a carrier,
Mm.
and somewhat difficult to start an MGA. Nowadays, if you have a good idea and you can find some money to launch it, you can use Boost, you can use Multiply, you can go through broker tech, you can go to plug and play, you can go to the global insurance accelerator. Like, there are so many ways to creatively launch your baby without having to raise $100 million to get going.
Yeah, that's true. There's a lot of support out there now too. Never mind just how many companies there are to join. I mean, there's lots of support for new ventures, I guess too. Yeah.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. It's been really interesting. I look forward to see what you guys do as you get going as an MGA. I like the model of growing the MGA out of a successful existing practice, uh, and I'm seeing it more and more. Right, I'm running into it more and more into the, you know, we sell security systems, so we have data that others don't have. Let's launch a personal lines MGA, or we sell risk management systems in this vertical. We know that space really well. Let's sell them insurance now, right? It really makes a lot of sense. It's a model that I think will be more successful than the there's a lot of money in insurtech. Let's try to build something that we can sell off in 3 years. Uh, so anyway, great chatting with you, Ben. Looking forward to have you back on the podcast as a year from now, or whatever, once you guys
Yeah.
get going. Hopefully, I'll run into you and the team at InsurTech Connect or one of the other conferences. A real pleasure. Thank you for agreeing to come on the show.
Oh yeah. Thank you again for the invite. This has been great. And yeah, we'll plan to be back on at some point once we have a bit more progress. Maybe we'll be launched or something. We can talk more about that too.